Okay, so this is a strange time to go live. I understand. Almost 5 o'clock in the morning. But this is me. Welcome you into my world of crazy. So, just a little while ago, I was live in the car, went for a ride, and per usual, I was playing something. I listen to this woman frequently because a lot of the stuff that she's saying now, I've already known before. But I post it because, well, it's to try to show you instead of just tell you what my experience in this work is. And, you know, there are a lot of people that don't know how to handle it, I suppose, or don't know how to treat it. Like when it comes to me, I don't know how to explain this, but it's not easy. Like, this is not an easy path, although some of you may feel like it is, but it's not. All right, so what I want to say was, so everything that she said in that video, right? A lot of the stuff that she said in that video, I channeled and wrote down, actually. I went, all right, let me start over. So the whole reason why I even went live in the first place is because I'm woken up. I was woken up at 2:30 in the morning. And I'm woken up by my guides. They don't have a clock. They don't have a clock, and they will contact you in your least resistant time. Like when you're asleep is when you're at your least resistance. It's when you can really hear them. It's when they can really get through to you, whether it's through your dream state, whatever. It's your least resistant time. So when they want to get your attention about something, that's what they'll do. They'll wake you up. And lately, I've been kind of in my feelings, because I know that I'm following what they're saying. I'm listening to my guides. I listen to my angels. I listen to my guides. I listen to them, and I'm obedient. A lot of times, reluctantly obedient, because I don't see the fairness in how things turn out a lot of times, because they know what I want. They know what I desire. They know what I've been through. They know that I've earned it. They know a lot of that. And so when a lot of those things don't come into fruition, or I feel like the things that I'm asking for are not going to happen, because I'm not being unrealistic, I'm asking for respect. I'm asking for loyalty. I'm asking for honesty from people. I'm asking for devotion. Like, I'm asking for things that should come naturally. So I'm not asking for anything. Like, I'm not asking to be a millionaire. I'm not asking to be famous. I'm not asking to own a huge house and 5 vehicles. I'm not asking for materialistic shit. I'm asking for reasonable things that I should already have, just because it's my birthright. And when I don't see these things coming in, or they're just really slow, I start to get down on myself, because I see a lot of people who live in a very unjust way, receiving all the things that I feel like I deserve when I live in a very just way, you know? And so I feel a lot of times I struggle with my guides and my spirit team because I often look at them and ask them, why do I have to suffer? You know, like I ask them that stuff. So sometimes they'll wake me up in the middle of the night and they will direct me to something, like to listen to something or push me to do something. Like I'll feel an urge. It's sort of I don't know how to explain it. It's more it's like a pull. I feel a pull towards something. And so this morning, of course, that happened. It was like 2:30 in the morning. Woke me up out of my sleep. I got up. I went to the gas station. I bought my coffee and I drove to the beach. I didn't know what to do with myself. And I was like, I don't know why you're waking me up, why this is happening. So I'm just going to go with it. And I did. And so while I was driving, you know, I always listen to YouTube. I love YouTube. But while I was driving, I was listening to this channeled message from this woman on YouTube. And her channel is called Magnetize Yourself. She's very much so in tune, like I am, in tune with my guides. I always give credit where credit's due. I don't hype up a person that ain't that great at it, and it's not because I don't want to see them be great. It's just, why would I? But she's really good at it, so I'll definitely shout her out. She's good at what she does, and so she deserves that credit. But anyway, she recorded this channeled message that she received 2 days ago. I listened to it 2 days ago, and I was woken up to go back and listen to it again. And that's why I went for my drive. And while I was sitting on the beach, it was also brought to my awareness, or a push, that urge or whatever, to go and grab this notepad that I had in my trunk. It's been sitting in my trunk. It shouldn't be, but it has been. And so I went back and grabbed this notepad out of the trunk. And there was, you know, a lot of times I do a lot of automatic writing. Whenever I'm pushed to, like, urged or feel the urge to grab a pen and paper and just write down messages from my guides. I haven't been doing it as often as I used to. Well, I just haven't had time, but I haven't been pushed to do it. Because I'll get a nudge, like a pull, to do it when they really have something to say. And they don't want me to forget it, you know, they want me to write it down. So this is one of those instances. But I did this, and I date it. I always date it, so I can always reference back, you know. And this was dated June 16th, 2023. And the timing of it is impeccable. Like, truly, because this is a year ago almost, and it's just now making more sense to me than it did then. But it's also reiterating everything that this woman said in her channeled reading that she posted 2 days ago. And so I'll read it to you. But this is also why I smoke marijuana. Because it's just crazy. Yeah, hold on. I smoke a lot of weed. because it's not easy to be different from everybody else. It can be heartbreaking, it can be sad, and you really see people's true colors, you know? And it can be really lonely. But I'll read this, and if you listen to that channeled reading from her that I posted a little while ago, you'll see the similarities. It's pretty wild, actually. But I'll read it. Okay. Kimberly, it is always a pleasure when we are able to connect with you in this way. We encourage you to connect with us more often, especially now, excuse me. I can't read my own handwriting sometimes. You have major changes happening in your personal world, changes you never saw coming. These are good, and you have worked so hard on your growth, even without the recognition of others. Because you have stayed true to your path, even through the most tumultuous time of your life, you never lost faith in the divine or questioned who you were or the role you played. I'm not so sure that's true, but we are aware of the mistakes you have made. I've made many. But we are equally aware of why, and that you always come from a good place and put your divinity above all else. Your finances are about to take a significant leap forward, leaving you without much to worry about. I'm not there yet. I'm still waiting on that. Be patient with this. I am. You have earned it, and you deserve it. Many will display judgment. This is what I've been experiencing. Many will display judgment and jealousy of your growth and leap forward. Do not allow this to hinder your progress or set you backwards. You are receiving the reward for many reasons, but the most important reason is your love for humanity as a whole. The ones who don't support you are the ones who will judge you, but they have also avoided their own growth and are still operating through the lens of their 3D reality. You have been set apart from the rest. Your commitment to grow and dedication to help heal the collective consciousness has catapulted you forward in your evolutionary growth. We have had a front row seat in the movie of your life, and you continue to please us with the choices you make, especially in regards toward the people who have so senselessly hurt or betrayed you. You have never been alone through this, and your higher self has been aware of this while you have sometimes questioned it. Your evolution has been on the fast track for quite some time now, and you will have one final test approaching. And that test approached. I got that test in November, and I'm still healing from that. You will be able to handle this in a mature way and will also have the tools necessary to navigate through what would appear to be unfair. What seems to be unfair is actually what is pushing you into your final place of success. Take a bow, Kimberly. You have been able to heal and overcome the traumas and hurts, betrayals, etc., and an incredibly rapid rate. Most people are not able to accomplish this in one lifetime. It's only because of your deep understanding of cause and effect, or AKA karma. You are highly protected and you are loved. Until we meet again, be well, be the light, and bravo, you made it. Your spirit team. And so I say that because, and I share that because I am incredibly misunderstood, undervalued, and taken for granted. And although sometimes I might play like I don't understand what's going on around me, I do. I always am aware of my surroundings, and I stay that way. My heart has been the thing that I've protected the most out of everything, because once I open my heart and it's wide open, it's easy for me to miss red flags, miss signs, even sometimes people's cruel intentions. And it's taken a very long time for me to get to this place where I'm at in my life. And recognized or not, I'm here. And I have a job to do. And it really doesn't matter who believes in it, who does not. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everybody has a choice. Everybody chooses to live their life a certain way. I am by no means perfect. Not even close. Not even close. I have so many flaws. Nobody is perfect. We are human beings. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are not perfect. To portray yourself as if you are already sets the foundation of a false sense of any connection you could possibly have. And that'll never work. And to constantly wonder why things don't work out, you really have to ask yourself, how are you presenting? How are you presenting yourself? If they're not working out, it's not always because it's the outside of you rejecting you. Sometimes it's you rejecting yourself. Things don't come easy to me. They never have. They never have. Every milestone I've reached, every badge that I've earned, trust and believe it was hard earned, and I did not get anything handed to me. And just because I have a close connection to my guides and angels does not mean that I am treated better than anybody else or with privileges that other people don't have. That's not true. And as a matter of fact, everybody on this planet could have just as close of a relationship with their spirit team, with their guides, with their angels, with their ancestors, as I do. Everybody. The problem is most people want to skip the work. The work is yourself. Becoming a better version of you, your full potential. The mere fact that you can sit there with the wishes, I wish I could, ... fill in the blanks, automatically tells you you can. The problem most people face is the work that's involved in it. If a lot of people, if they have to work for something really big and they know that it's going to take years of work, they don't want to do it. And I will say that if I knew in the beginning that this was going to take the length of time that it did, I'm not so sure I would have engaged in it. I probably wouldn't have. If I knew way back when this started how long it would have taken for me to get to this point, back then I probably wouldn't have taken that step. But I really believe that that was hidden from me because this was part of my soul's purpose when I came. And so I think that that was hidden from me because I never would have agreed to doing 10 plus years of inner work, healing work. I never would have agreed to that. I would have been way more comfortable ripping and running these streets. But that's not how it was presented to me. It was presented to me as if and it wasn't a lie. It's like they didn't lie to me. It was just the way that I felt in the moment was everything. It was really exciting. And I had no idea the trials that I was going to go through. I had no idea that that was going to happen. I had no clue because I was soaring high. I was on such a high vibration. So excited being able to communicate with my guides and my angels. I didn't see the intensity of the work behind it. But once I was locked in with them, I knew that I never wanted to lose them in my life. I never, and I'm protected. Even through all the heartache, even through all the tumultuous stuff that I've gone through, I wouldn't change it. Back then, I probably wouldn't have signed up for it if I'd have known. True, but I wouldn't change it. Excuse me. Now, in hindsight, when I look back and the growth, the maturity, where I was then and where I am now, I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't have signed up for it if I'd have known everything up front. But they knew how to handle me. They knew how to work with me. They knew how to handle me. And they knew that for me to stay dedicated to them, they had to work with me in a specific way. And so it's different for everybody. Everybody's spiritual journey is different. And so I'll say that none of this came easy. None of it. It's a very lonely path. It's a very lonely path. Because the more you awaken to who you are, the more you awaken to life outside of the 3D matrix, the more you awaken to the true intentions of most people, because it's shown to you. Once you awaken, it's shown to you. And you don't become judgmental because you understand everybody's on their own journey. So it's interesting. Like I don't feel judgmental at all. It's always more like I know what I want in my life opposed to what I don't. But it's never I never look at people like, oh, I could never be like you. I don't do that. I don't look at people in a judgmental way. I will judge how you've carried me. I will judge how you've treated me, because I don't treat people in a cruel way. And so if you're cruel to me, I will judge that. But the reason you are the way that you are, I don't judge. Because we all have a past. We all have trauma. We all have been through some shit. We are born pure light. And if you're in this place where you're not acting like that, I know that that's not who your soul is. And so on a soul level, I know that's not who you are, so I don't judge you. But I will make judgment calls based off of how I'm being carried, because I know that I've earned, at the very least, I've earned respect. In the spirit world. And a human's opinion of me no longer bothers me. Not the way that it used to, certainly does not. One, because I know that I live in integrity. Two, I'm honest and I'm loyal and I'm devoted to anybody who's that way towards me. So anybody who has an opinion against me or judgment towards me, more often than not, it's because they screwed it up. It's because they did something to me and are not happy with themselves, but can't openly admit that. And so it's easier to project, well, I only did it because of this and I only did it because of that, when truly there was no good reason. Because if I've always been loyal and I've always been devoted and I've always been loving, you really don't have a good reason to be shitty. So you see people for who they are, and a lot of times it's easier to just remain solo so you can continue to do the spiritual work to help bring people into the awareness of who they are on a soul level. You are not your experience. You're not who the people were that raised you. That's not who you are. Your experiences with them, that's not who you are. Your experiences out in the world with other people and how they have mistreated you or not, you know, whether they treated you well or didn't. It's not who you are. You know, that's not who you are. How you react to the way that these people carry you is who you are. And if you're not happy with your reaction, you can't blame the other people outside of you. And this is where the inner work comes in. Because then you have to start trying to break it down. And, you know, a lot of people can't understand how a person who walks a spiritual path can make so many changes. It's the only way that that's possible is to take true accountability for yourself. And most often this is done alone. When you're alone, when you're by yourself. Not in conversation with other people. No. This is done between you and your spirit team when you're by yourself. And a lot of times, if you can't be by yourself, because the outside of you, your outside world, is very demanding. Spirit will sometimes put you in a position where you have no choice but to be by yourself. When you're alone, there's nothing on the outside of you to distract you. And so you have no choice but to start thinking. And that's kind of what sparks a lot of things. There's a lot of things when you're by yourself that you have to work through in order for growth. So a long time ago, I didn't really live in a very just way. I mean, I never really went out of my way to hurt people. I never did that. But I did a lot of things that I just wasn't proud of, you know? And so I spent many days beating myself up until I didn't. Until I finally came to a place where I had to understand that those things didn't define who I am as a person. The choices I made didn't define who I am as a person. I mean, on the outside of me, I'm sure. Because you leave impressions wherever you go. You leave an impression. But that doesn't define who you are on a soul level, right? Because people make mistakes. You're here to learn. How you continue to carry people is different. You know, that's a choice. But, you know, if you've said something to hurt somebody's feelings, I'll give you an example. This is a good example. So, when I was a kid, there was somebody that lived across the street from me. Really super, super nice person. I will not name drop. It's not necessary. But he had, and I adored him. I thought he was great. But he had the biggest crush on me. He lived across the street from my mom. He had the biggest crush on me. I didn't feel the same way, although I wanted to be his friend. But he would do little things, like I would come home from school, and I remember like 10 years old, and I still have the card too, by the way. But I would come, one time I came home from school, and there was a card sitting in my bushes that it was just a random thinking of you kind of card, you know. 10 years old, we were little, but it was sweet, and it was sincere. And then, you know, a few years went by, and I left home. I ran away from home. I was on the run for a decade. I was a runaway for a long time. And then one day, I went to every single high school there was. I went to New Bedford High, Dartmouth High, Fairhaven High, Vogue. I went to all of them. I went to all of them because I was in the foster care system, and I bounced around a lot. But I was in Vogue at this particular time, and I was an asshole, and somebody came on the bus on the way home, and I made a smart remark. I was teasing him, you know, and because I saw that he baked a cake and everything, and I was in a real, I don't know, bully, I guess, type of mentality, and I started saying something to him to the effect of, "Did you make that for your mom?" or something like that. And I didn't recognize him. I didn't know who he was. I just did not recognize him. But he said, "Hey, Kim." And as soon as he said that, I knew who it was. It was the kid that lived across the street from me that left me a note or a card in my bushes. and I adored him. I thought he was the sweetest person. And also, what I knew about him after I had left my mom's house, I found out, I don't know how I found out, but I found out at some point that his mom passed away. She got sick. So when I was in high school on the bus, and I said that, and I realized who he was after, the guilt. Oh, that guilt sat with me for years. For years. I mean, all the way up until adulthood. I could not forgive myself for that. It was so hard. I'm trying not to cry thinking about it. It was so hard to forgive myself for that because I was cruel and he didn't deserve it. He really didn't deserve it. But the reason I've been able to move past it is because I had to really sit with that. I had to really, really sit with it. You know, and I really sat with that years later. It took years. It took years. I mean, I felt bad initially. I really did feel bad. But when I came to a place of true forgiveness, I didn't need it from him. Although I would have liked it. And I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. I mean, we became friends. He was friends with my mom. He actually became a political figure locally in New Bedford. So he's a big deal. But it didn't happen until probably after 2012 where I really sat with myself. And this is from high school. But that's how long it ate at me. And I really had to understand that I just didn't know better. I mean, I knew better as a human that that wasn't okay. But from a soul level, I did not know better. I didn't know what my purpose here was. I didn't know what his purpose here was. I wasn't into spirituality. I was really just all about myself. And it was one of those things that I had to sit with, you know. And sometimes, in order to get to a place where it seems like, to the outside world, not to me, but to the outside world, where everything is effortless, it's not true. But to get to that place where it appears that way, I guess, you have to take accountability. You have to take accountability for the way you have made people feel. You know, they say that when you pass away, there's a review on your life, that there's judgment, you know. And I believe that to a certain extent, but not in the religious way. I don't believe that you're judged good or bad. I believe that there's a review on what have you learned, what haven't you learned. But I also believe that there's a review of your life that you, at some point, when you're walking a spiritual path, that you just give to yourself. It's just automatic. It just happens. You go through your own life review. And the purpose of that life review is to do things differently. It's to behave differently. It's to evolve. It's to grow. And so when you question my evolution, when you question where I am right now as opposed to where I was, it's literally because I gave my own self a life review. And a lot of times, I'm not happy with the results. But when you're truly apologetic about something, you just never repeat it again, you know? And so now I'm grateful, even through the heartache, even through the pain caused by others, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because I'm grateful because I've learned how not to be that way. And I've also know that now at this point in my life, at this point on my journey, when I am faced with those things, it's not because it's my karma. It's not. It's because somebody else needs to learn the same lessons that I also had to learn. And so, as painful as that can be, it's for humanity as a whole. Because your growth will always inspire and spark growth in somebody else. Even if they don't understand where it's coming from, even if they believe that it's happening for reasons other than it's happening, even if they have feelings of wishing it may have been it's them, or I don't know, but it sparks a growth within them, a growth that once you learn something, once you see something, you can never undo it. You can never unlearn it. You can never unsee it. And so they say once you know better, you do better. I don't necessarily agree with that. It's more like once you know better, you really do know better. And so everything you do after knowing better is a choice. And any consequence that's attached to that, good or bad, you have to be willing to accept or not. It's your life, it's your path, it's your growth or lack thereof. And if you want to continue to live in a low vibrational place, it's obviously your choice, and you can continue to do that. Just know that when you do reincarnate, you pick up where you left off. Whatever lessons that you were brought here to learn, it doesn't stop. The lessons are still needing to be learned. It's for your growth, you know. And I think the word, I wish I had a different word that I could attach to that. Because lesson sounds like a punishment, like teaching somebody a lesson. And that's not what it is. A lesson is more like knowledge, going to school, like people pay to go to college so they can gain knowledge to better their life in the long run. That's what I mean by lesson. Not something that you have to learn based off of a punishment because of your choices. Not at all. So, bear with me as I go through this journey, as confusing as it can be. A lot of times I will post things, like go for my drives, where I'm playing these videos live. And it's only because this has been my experience. This is my reality. And I won't bend for anybody. So I love everybody. My love never wavers. It never dies. It's unconditional. Meaning, no matter what you do to me, at me, once I love, and I love deep. But that does not mean that I stick around for the abuse. I can love you from afar. I won't stick around and be abused. That ain't gonna happen. Not ever. But I don't judge. I don't judge people. But this path, it's not an easy path. It's not an easy journey. What seems to be effortless to other people is the hardest thing you'll ever experience. And if you don't have the guts, if you don't have the grit, don't bother. Don't bother.